Good morning everyone. In today's class, we will be learning about calculated column and how we can use the calculated column for various scenarios. So, first we will learn about calculated column with a simple and straightforward scenario with Sonam's project, which is argon donation. So her scenario is, if the argon is hot, she wants to give argon donation. So ODH, because argon O, donation D, hot H. She wanted to give ODH followed by a random number or a sequence number. That's her requirement. Is that my right? Is that my understanding right, Sonam? So now let's go to her Dataverse first. So in calculated column, there what we do is we compare one particular column has some value or not in the table. So first we will create a column as a single line of text, and we define the column type as a calculated column. When we are creating the column as a single line of text, it also asks you what is the nature of the column. Is it a basic single line of text, or it is a calculated column? So in that we will create a calculated column, and we will specify how you want to calculate, on what basis you want to calculate. Remember, when we are creating a calculated column, we cannot do this calculation depending on a choice lookup fields. I repeat, when we are creating a calculated column, we cannot derive the value of a calculated column with a choice and a lookup fields. Are you guys getting me? So if the value, if we want to compute a value or calculate a value, I cannot include my data with the data types choice and lookup. So what I can use? I can use single line of text. I can use the what you call basically most of the times a single line of text is the only one. So one single line of text and other single line of text, I can compare, and I can just derive the value of the calculated column. Go ahead. Somebody has a question?
స్క్రీన్ ఆగింది సార్, ఒక్క నిమిషం సార్, నెట్వర్క్ ఇష్యూ, ప్రొజెక్టర్ ఆగిపోయింది సార్.
So let's go ahead and create two columns. One I have created as a primary column as a first name, and I will also create another name as last name. Then I will create the full name as a calculated column with a concatenation of first name and last name. Also, we will create one more column type as auto number, and we will add the auto number also as part of that calculated column. Okay. Now I'm creating another column called last name. This is also, I'm not going to make any changes. I'll say save. Now full name, I'm taking it as the single line of text. Format is text, but the behavior I'm going to select as the calculated column. See that? the behavior, I'm going to select it as a calculated column. So when the time I created a calculated column, it is immediately saying like, save and edit, because I need to provide the formula how I want to compute this value. When I say calculated column, save and edit, it gives you another pop-up for you to compute the calculated column condition. Now here I'm going to say the current entry field first name contains value, contains data. When I say, see, in this current entry, first name contains data, and so I'll have to say yes, and last current entry, last name contains data. So both first name and last name has data. See this, first name contains data and last name contains data. Do you guys see the screen or no? Are you able to see this? What is the action I wanted to take is concat. What I wanted to concat, first name og dot first name comma og underscore last name. Also I want to add a space in between, so I'll just say like that. I'll say yes. So what I'm calculating, I'm computing my full name with a concatenation of first name and last name. Let's see this in action. Save and close. Now go back to the data. I'll say last name, also full name. This one, edit in new table. Say Krishna and it will calculate and show the value. I have not provided. In fact, calculated column is non-editable. It automatically comes. Okay. Now, let's take Deepak's example or Deepak's scenario. In his scenario, what he wants is, if the percentage is 35, okay, let's say subject 1, subject 2, subject 3 values 35, 35, 35. If all of them are 35 or above, then only I will say the student is qualified. If not, student is disqualified or failed. Right? So now let's add another couple of columns, say like subject 1 score and subject 2 score and subject 3 score. Okay, subject 1 score, and here I'll take it as a number. I don't care about this format. And another subject to score, and I will take this also as a whole number, and format as nothing. Let's say this So now subject 1 and subject 2, if they both are greater than 35, then only I want to compute the value as student qualified status as qualified or disqualified. Okay, now let's go ahead and create another column as student uh, qualification status. Okay, this one I'll say single line of text, format is text, but this is a computed column, right? Now I'll say save and edit. But in this column, for this column, my criterias are subject 1 not contains data greater than 35 and subject 2 greater than 35. Then I'll set the value to my status as qualified. If not disqualified. మాట్లాడండమ్మా. I'll say first thing is current record subject 1 score contains data and subject 2 contains data, and what I will have to do, action as set action. What I wanted to do, I want to compute the value, right? I want to compute the value as this one. No, my bad, it's not contains data. Is greater than 35 and is greater than 35, then my action value is qualified. If not, if it is then else current one score is less than or equal to, sorry, less than only, my goodness, less than 35 or score 2 subjects to less than or less than 35, then what is the action I'm going to do? Disqualified, right? Again, what are we doing here? First, if the condition is subject 1 is greater than 35 and subject 2 is also greater than 35, we are setting the status value as qualified. Else, if less than 35 or less than 35, at least one subject is less than 35, we are setting the value as disqualified. Right or wrong? Now we'll say save and close. Now let's go back to the data. Now let's add those columns also, say like subject 1, subject 2, status, qualification status. Okay, sorry, my bad, I would have said like student qualification status. Now if you see this one, this is not set to anything because these are all not having data. Now if we go here, edit in new tab, and followed by this one, I'm going to say as 15, and see this, the time I say 15 disqualified, and this one I say 65, but he is disqualified. But if I change this one to 45, qualified. Got it? So that is how we can implement a calculated column. Okay. So on the similar hand, in Sonam's scenario, organ details also we can compare the same way. Now if I take one more column as organ dynamic ID calculated, before that we need to create another thing, organ name, right? Organ name. Now under that choice pledged organs. Now I'll say save. Why it is coming as this? Did I mention the organ name as this is just choice. Now organ dynamic ID, single line of text, and this one is a calculated column, save and edit. So in this scenario, what I want to do is the organ ID I want to give in such a way that if the selected organ is heart, then I wanted to say H. Okay. If the selected organ is I want to say the value as E. Okay. I'll say condition current entry organ name. You cannot sort calculated column, I don't care. Contains the data. Organ name contains data. Then action is what? I have to validate what is the organ, right? If organ What is the internal name for organ? We created it as, what's the name? OG underscore ORG. This is what I was telling. My bad. I just said that, right? Like calculated column, you cannot use it as part of the choice column. You cannot use it as part of the calculated column. That's one of the drawback. I will figure it out and I'll come back to you for the workaround. The workaround for that is you need to implement it as a flow. In the we need to implement a flow under a flow Power Automate flow. Using flow, we can validate that. We can set a value. Probably Sonam, for your project, we need to implement that. So to do that, I need to introduce something called what is a flow and how we could implement a flow. Probably next week we will discuss about that.